Good evening and a very warm welcome to you. Welcome to the Misfits Racing League. My name is Frostbreath and I'll be providing you with the commentary for tonight for Season 6, Tier 2, Round 8 of 18. And with that we have come to the Azerbaijan track, a tricky and scary street circuit that yesterday has claimed the many cars of the Tier 3 drivers. 9 of them didn't manage to cross the finish line, and that is saying something. And now then, we do have some hopes, of course, for Tier 2 to hopefully have a little bit less DNS, because it also triggered 4 safety cars. And it was all round a pretty chaotic yet super epic race to watch. Tier 2 also, of course, also has the reputation of a lot of DNFs. A few races ago in Monaco, 2 weeks ago in fact, we saw only 9 drivers finishing the race, which means 11 drivers had a DNF to their name in this tier. Now another street circuit is coming up tonight, so the stakes are up. How many drivers will not finish the race? I think that should also be a prediction thingy for the channel points. Of course, last week round, Alexander, in his first outing for Mercedes as a permanent driver, immediately won the race and therefore instantly moved into the top 10 of the Drivers' Championship. He's still well away from Wisp, who is currently exactly at 100 points. He is therefore still leading the drivers' standings, and he's got a pretty healthy lead over Remco and, of course, Sano Goat, both having 66 and 61 points respectively. Big Turbina, Wisp's teammate, is behind those two drivers in P4, Polypunk in 5th, and continuing downwards we have Leclerc, Domi, Deekserve, Psycho and Alexander then, of course, rounding off the top 10. As for the constructors, Red Bull are having a very healthy lead at the moment in P1 with 156 points, which is almost 40 points clear of Alpine in 2nd place. Williams then 30 points behind Williams in 3rd. McLaren in a fight with that team, only 4 points difference between the two Mercedes powered teams there. Aston Martin then following at a pretty clear distance. Mercedes very close, as well as Alfa Tauri and Alfa Romeo. It's the battle of the Alphas, in fact, in P7 and 8. And then Haas, having not scored for the last 5 races in a row. That means Aro and Gerson are gonna have to put in a big performance if they want to score for their team tonight. Aro only having 2 points and Gerson still having none. And one of the previous drivers for Haas having scored the only 17 points quite a few races ago already. Ferrari still hanging around in last place, as Crampy so far has had the worst luck. We know he's fast, but he hasn't been able to put in any good result still. So let's see what will happen tonight. Anything can happen in Baku. And I have been asked to jinx something for these drivers. They want rain, and therefore I'm now saying that since there has already rained yesterday, we will not see any rain tonight, most likely. Also because Tier 2 so far had only had dry races, 7 in a row in fact. And therefore it is likely that tonight will be dry as well. But let's see what will happen. We've seen it happening yesterday, and who knows what will happen today. The drivers are currently readying up, so the lobby is already full. We do have quite a few reserve drivers, in fact. We have Adesi, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that correctly, in Aston Martin, replacing Leclerc. We have Eruption in McLaren, replacing Domi. We have Freeware in the Alpha Tauri, replacing Luda. And I think that is it, yes. Originally we had also had a reserve for Mercedes, but Doni last minute was able to drive anyways. So 3 reserve drivers here in Tier 2, and the other 17 drivers will be present. So that is Leclerc, Luda and Domi not present for this race. Especially for Domi and Leclerc, that will be a bit of a pain, because they were doing quite well in the driver standings in P6 and P7, as you can see. That will not be happening tonight. Alexander not getting a lot of faith from the people in the chat with the back-to-back pole position prediction. A lot of players, viewers saying no, as we are now going live to the pit lane. Actually, for real this time, instead of me. You're not pressing the transmission button or whatever it's called in English. Anyway, here we are, 20 drivers ready to roll, and a dry qualifying it seems to be for now. Let's see what will happen if the race is gonna come around the corner. Let me know, any of the drivers, if you have any weather updates for me. As per usual, I cannot see what will happen with terms of weather. So will it be a dry race or will it be a mixed race? Maybe an entire wet race? That would be awesome as well, especially here in Azerbaijan. As of course we all know how tricky and difficult this track is. It's also a dry race, so unfortunately my jinx didn't work. So I do apologize for that one. Several cars already out, Crampy being one of the first. A Daisy just ahead of him, a reserve driver for Aston Martin, and behind him I think that is the Red Bull of Wisp. Yes, the championship leader is just behind Crampy there in his Red Bull car. The man of the healthy lead, and last week he told me he actually is really quick on this track. So we might see a mighty performance, and I wouldn't be surprised if we went well into the 1 minute 37s. The pole of tier 3 last night was somewhere in the 1 minute 38.2s. So let me see, my prediction for tonight I think is going to be a 1 minute 37 point... Well, let's be bold. Let's see if they can do a 37.5. I wouldn't be surprised if people like Wisp and Alexander would be able to pull that time off. But of course it's only the banker lap for now. Several drivers once again going out on the medium tires. Surprisingly only 4 of them are doing it now. And while Wisp is currently creating a gap to Desi just ahead of him, that will be the driver first to set a lap time if he doesn't invalidate, of course. And it's already quite busy on track. 18 out of the 20 drivers are already out within the first 3 minutes of qualifying here. So that means there's a massive queue. Look at the minimap. Just have a little look there at the minimap as everybody is trying to find a gap left, right and center. And let's hope they'll all be able to do so. Otherwise, they might be in a lot of trouble. Anyway, switching to the championship leader. Let's see what he can do on his medium tires. Of course, it's a banker lap and it's the harder compound of tires. And he's got a Ferrari pretty close behind him. In fact, that Ferrari behind him has got a Williams really closely on top of him. And I think that is fortunately for him. No, it's not fortunate for him, because it's Fraser who's also on a hot lap and pretty much using the Ferrari as a big tow machine to get himself forward. So this is going to be interesting. Let's see what will happen here. Crampy, therefore, really followed by a Williams, and himself not being too far away from Wisp either, who's on a harder compound of tire and obviously quite a bit slower, as Crampy is edging closer at every single corner. So that might be a bit of a qualifying problem here. Several drivers potentially holding one another up, especially Fraser, and Crampy has already moved out of the way. He noticed that Fraser is quicker than he is and therefore decided not to hold him up and wait for another opportunity to go around the track. But that might be an issue as well if there's a load of drivers behind one another currently. Having somewhat found a gap, as Wisp is now setting a purple second sector. Faster at the moment than a Daisy, who's also on the medium tires, so they can be comparable their times, as both of them are the same compound. Let's see what they can do, as Daisy will be the first to cross the line. He'll be opening tonight's qualifying a 39.6 on the medium tires, and of course trying to switch to Wisp. He goes quite a lot quicker, a 38.7, only half a second of tier 3's pole on a slower tire. Fraser moving in second place at 38.9, and we already have our first 37 of the night, as Alexander on his soft tires puts the fastest lap on provisional pole for now with a 37.922. Sanogo then coming up really closely behind him, just over a tenth shy of Alexander's time with a 38.0 at the moment. Remco currently slotting himself into third place with a 38.3, so that is pretty much the quickest for drivers, if I can be so bold to say that, as Sanogo somehow stopped the car on the track. There might be an issue with his computer there, as he currently isn't moving, and that's dangerous. Thankfully he didn't stay there for much longer, otherwise he would have been disqualified from the session, as he had his car to a complete stop. So good on him that he got his car going again. Let's switch to one of the Ferraris, especially Crampy, who's already invalidated his second attempt to go around the track. So I'm afraid this set of soft tires is now pretty much done for. So I do think he'll have no option but to come back into the pit lane. We're going to Gerson then. As I said before, Haas really is going to have to put in a performance. His teammate just slotted in a P14 with only a 40.3, which is also quite a lot slower than most of the Tier 3 drivers. So no good news there for Aro. Might have made a mistake somewhere on the track, especially Deekser with a 46.4. Definitely something went wrong over there. So let's see what this driver can do then in his Haas car as he approaches the castle section. Quite tidy through there, a yellow flag just ahead of him as several cars are going quite slowly. He keeps it well within the lines, not pushing that hard just yet, which is a wise thing to do considering that this is only his first attempt at setting a lap time. Just a little in between message, I've changed some settings on my OBS, so I hope the quality of the stream is a bit more crisp and smooth, less blocky as I noticed when I watched the stream back yesterday. I saw it wasn't as clean as I hoped it would be. So let me know if it is cleaner than it was yesterday. Many drivers coming in as Gerson is about to set his lap time tonight. He's already missed the 37, 38 and 1 minute 39. So he slots in at the 40.1. He is now therefore in P13. It hasn't really improved. That is unfortunate. I think quite positive I've actually changed the settings to go to 1080p for real this time, but I can't really change it anymore. Changed the bitrate to much higher. That didn't work either then, it seems. Oh well, not much I can do. So then, Gerson only 13th, Ara only P15, and 4 drivers not yet having set a lap time, both Ferraris included. And look at that, both of them are currently out on track behind one another. Kane just ahead of Crampy there. The team currently last in the constructor standings, and I know both of these drivers have it in them to put up a real, proper, strong, fast performance. A bit of a lock up there as Crampy tries to heat up his new and fresh set of soft tires. So let's hope he'll be able to set a lap time along with Kane. Haydar Toke in the Alpha Tauri also not having yet set a lap time. Doni Pitarka also getting ready for his first, or maybe second or even third attempt of a lap time here around Azerbaijan. So let's see what will happen. Hopefully for their sake it will be a good time for both Ferraris, as now Haydar and Doni have started their lap times. Kane and Crampy still having to cross the finish line. Several other drivers already out for their second attempt, including the likes of Alexander Johansson, Sanne Goat over there, a bit further back, I believe. No, actually, Alexander is the one who's being further back. He's being chased down by a Alpine. That is Remco's Alpine, who's putting up a bit of pressure, telling Alexander to hurry up. Maybe even trying and hoping that he will edge his tires over the temperature limit with pushing this hard just behind him. We have a yellow flag in turn 2 there. We had one for a moment. And it was when the Ferraris were crossing the corner. So that's definitely no good news for them. And let's see what they can do. They've got an Alfa Romeo in between themselves. The blurriness is better, so that's good news. Thank you very much for confirming. Let's hope I will find another setting to improve. I'm not entirely sure what I can do to make it even smoother. I do have an idea that I can still change the setting one way or another. But we'll have to find out next week whether that works or not. Anyway, back to the track. Looking very tidy through the castle section for Crampy as well, as there's a very slow AlphaTauri, thankfully on the left side of the track there. I think that is Reapy over there. Yes, it was. He was moving out of the way cleanly for both Ferrari drivers. Neither of them so far having invalidated their laps. Now let's see what Kane can do as he approaches the pretty much final straight here, with 2 more slightly difficult corners here. If you can get them perfectly, they'll be very good, but if you touch the wall once, there's a good chance that you will DNF, as we have a yellow flag, which is actually Eruption. He's in the wall, and dearie me, Mercedes narrowly avoiding the car, as he was in a very, very, very dangerous and inconvenient spot for any driver trying to set a hot lap. And that completely distracted us from Kane setting a P10 and Crampy moving up all the way to 4th place with a 38.626. But Eruption, with his sideways car, nearly took out one of the Mercedes. Not sure which Mercedes it was. I believe it was actually Alexander who has been hampered in his qualifying attempt. Here he is right now. Let's hope he hasn't been hampered too much at the moment. Wisp has been moved down to 6th place. However, he had set that lap on the medium tires and he's now going for a lap on the soft. I think he had a bit of a trouble there entering the castle section. Bit of an oversteering moment as we have another crash for Eruption trying to get through the castle section as well. Another yellow flag therefore. Anyway, back to Alexander as he now sets a second purple sector. Almost 2/10 quicker than his previous attempt. Yes, let's indeed see how many wings the castle section will eat today. Asana Goat now goes provisional pole with a 137.8. We're getting closer to the 137.5 prediction. Let's see what Alexander can do when he crosses the line. It is actually a 37.7. So another 10th quicker than Sano Goat, and now Wisp probably approaching the finish line as well. He's half a second quicker than his previous attempt at the moment, which is not nearly enough to get close to pole position. But let's see what he's done in the final sector. He's done a 38.2. It's only P5 for the championship leader. So there's definitely even more room for improvement. Maybe he got himself hampered by the McLaren in the castle section of Eruption, as the McLaren currently is heading back into the pit lane. And that might have been the cause. I now see a slow going Alpine, like seriously slow, making way for Wisp, even though that wasn't really necessary. Wisp has already done his hot lap. Of course, Remco can't really know that. Either way, it calls the yellow flag. We have another yellow flag on the main straight as Kane is going very slow. I think he's run out of fuel. Kane has run out of fuel. Now he has to stay on the far left side to make sure nobody will be hampered on their hot lap attempt. And now he's safely into the pit lane. Many drivers are now heading into that pit lane as well. And the only driver currently on an out lap here is Daz in his Aston Martin. He's actually the only driver currently for the team who can score points. So the pressure is on. His teammate, currently the reserve driver Adesi, has actually slotted himself into provisional 4th position, about 100th of a second quicker than the championship leader Wisp. So a great job there for the reserve Aston Martin driver. But Daz is going to have to do it all alone for the point scoring for Aston Martin tonight. So let's see if he can actually do that as he goes through turn 2 on the back straight here. Another DRS moment for any driver on this section of the track. And then comes, of course, turns 3 and 4. First a left-hander and then another 90-degree right-hander. And let's see how his time will look at the end of the first sector. What improvement will he have made? It's currently only 43 milliseconds faster than turns 5 and 6 as he's now approaching the castle section slowly but steadily. Now this corner you can actually cut quite nicely without getting any track limit invalidation there. Castle section coming up, looking very clean indeed. No oversteer or understeer whatsoever. Tidy through the section, pretty much on the track limits. You can see he's pushing hard. His left tires nearly crossed the white line there. That means he's really going for it right now. And he's going to have to, as he's currently only sitting in 15th place. Approaching the end of the second sector, and then we're going to have a real good idea as we have another yellow flag with another McLaren. And I'm afraid it's once again Eruption, who has, I think, had to move out of the way of Adesi. But it doesn't look like he's got damage this time, so I think it was only a move to get out of the way of another driver there. Daz hasn't been able to improve his time, but that most likely because he hasn't finished the lap yet, so I was a bit too quick there to judge. And there he goes, he's improving to P10 when with a purple sector 3, so that's an impressive final sector then. He's now got a 38.7. I'm a little bit afraid for him though that this lap this position actually might not last him the final 3 minutes of qualifying, as there's still many drivers going for the final attempt. And 2 drivers still not having set a lap time. Haydar and Doni still without a time, sitting 19th and 20th on the timesheets at the moment. Final round of qualifying attempts coming up then, with Sanogo being one of the first out. Remco just behind him. Wisp even further back, and Alexander is still hanging around in the pit lane as he just exited it, in fact. He'll soon be coming at the bottom of our screen somewhere. There he is. We're right behind one of the Alpha Tauris, and that might be Reapy. Actually, is not Reapy. It is Reapy, actually, because Hadar is still in the pit lane for some reason. And we have a bit of a traffic issue over here, as several drivers are trying to create a gap for themselves. Psycho being one of those. He's currently got a nice gap to the next car ahead, but that means several drivers behind him are getting the same issue. Polypunk, for example, having to slow down as well, which forces other drivers right behind him to slow down all the same, trying to keep as much heat in the tires as they all possibly can. And especially Kane now got a Aston Martin right behind him, who actually was on a hot lap attempt. Or maybe not, because this is Daz, who was already set a lap time previous lap, and is only slowing down to get back into the pit lane and move out of the way of all those drivers trying to set a faster time. As we have a crash, it is actually Hadar who's crashed out of qualifying without the lap time, so that's absolute disaster there for the AlphaTauri driver, as now Donny is about to start a lap, and if he manages to pass Hadar's location, he will move up to P19 at least, and that means Hadar will have to start the race all the way from the back. We currently have a massive Mercedes sandwich with one in first and one in last place. But if this man can keep his car out of the wall, that means he will actually pass Hadar. Santa Goat was on a hot lap attempt, has invalidated that attempt, and therefore is now on the back foot, having to try again soon, but he's only got less than a minute, and I'm afraid that's not going to work, as he's forced to head into the runoff area, trying to move out of the way of Remco's position, and now he's forced to wait even longer. So that's definitely not going to be any pole position, as Remco also moved out of the way and has a broken front wing. So that's another terrible moment there, as his teammate passes him with a bit of a twitchy moment. So that's Remco being the first victim, I'm afraid, of the castle section. It looks absolutely terrible. So switching back to other drivers who are currently trying to set an attempt here. Alexander being one of them. Remco is not given another chance to claim the pole position. Maybe our reserve driver, a Daisy here, can give us a big surprise tonight by stealing the pole position. He's only less than 3/10 away from it. And if he puts in a good performance here, which he doesn't currently, as he's saving fuel at the moment, and qualifying has now officially come to an end, any driver crossing the line will now be flagged with a checkered flag there. Wisp, 3/10 up currently. It's not going to be enough, I'm afraid, unless he's pulled a mighty final sector. He is moving into third place, so relatively close to one of his rivals, Alexander, who last week he said he didn't really consider a rival, but I'm afraid he will have to come back on that. Even though Alexander has currently managed to spin himself around, trying to improve his lap time, but he doesn't have to do so, as there's absolutely no drivers left trying to improve. Gian maybe, he's currently 2/10 quicker. He will move up several positions, but it will not be enough for pole position. But he might actually start P5 if he has done a mighty final sector. Let's see what he can do there as he comes across the line. It is P6. So the prediction then of a 37.5 was a bit too optimistic from me. We do have a 37.7, but I'm quite sure that if Alexander was able to improve, he would have gone quicker here. But unfortunately for himself, he hasn't managed to do so. Luckily though, he still clings on to pole position. Big Turbina looks like he's not improving either, as he's going slow already. And another terrible qualifying session for both Haas drivers, starting in P16 and 17. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tier 2 qualifying of tonight. Already seen several crashes within and outside the castle section, as all drivers are heading back into the pit lane. Alexander then once again claiming pole position. The back-to-back pole prediction is now answered with a yes. He's done it. With more than 1/10 of a second away from Sanogoat. And Wisp in his turn only 4/100 slower than the Williams driver. So it's going to be very close at the top of the table. P1 through P3, all very, very close together. And Remco, also one of the title contenders, not being that far away either. So we basically have the 4 fastest drivers in the top 4. That's going to be a very interesting race, that's for sure. Can't wait to see that. There we have it then. Our official results. As said, Alexander claiming pole position. Sanagoat starting alongside him on the front row. Championship leader Wisp in 3rd place. Remco in P4. Daisy in P5. Gian in 6th. Crampy in P7. You'll be happy with that performance. Big Turbina in P8. Polypunk in 9th. Psycho in 10th. And then we have the rest of the field looking like this. So we have Hadar not setting a lap time after crashing out, and Donny hasn't been able to set a lap time either, as he wasn't able to do enough laps to overtake Hadar in the standings here. So he'll be starting last. So we have a massive Mercedes sandwich, as said before. One starting first and the other one starting dead last. Safety car first lap. Well, we saw it happen in Tier 3 yesterday, so if you want to see that, you might have a good hope then. A new prediction. Will pole sitter Alex take the race win? Let's see what you guys think. Make sure to vote with channel points as we now wait for the drivers to pick a strategy. No rain predicted for this race here in Tier 2. Which means we'll see some standard strategies. Most likely soft to medium. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. As we saw yesterday, the mediums can last quite a long time if you can put in some decent tire saving strategies and skills. Top 10, of course, all starting on the softs. You might see the guys below the top 10 all starting on the mediums. Maybe somebody will play it safe and go for the hards, but I've never really seen that before in Tier 2 with drivers playing it safe. We have seen it in Tier 3 quite a few times. But let's see what happens as we now move to the grid, as drivers are getting ready for their formation lap. And let's go to the tires, and there we are, no hard tires as predicted, but interestingly we see Eruption and Donny starting on the soft tires. I think both of them, definitely Donny for sure, as he didn't really do that many qualifying laps, still has a fresh set of soft tires. They'll benefit maximally from that one. Hal Hassel, hi Brainstew, welcome to the stream, good to see you there. So that means the man in P18 and the man in P20 will both start on a softer compounded tires, and therefore at least in the first part of the race will be quicker. But this is Azerbaijan. We might soon see many strategies being thrown out of the window, as this track will likely claim many victims. I would like to see how many drivers you think will not finish this race. And keep in mind Monaco, where 11 of them didn't finish a race. 11 out of 20 drivers not finishing on their first street circuit of the season 2 weeks ago. So let's see. Oh, sorry about that one. Already Sanago got himself disqualified from the formation lap. So that's interesting. Not entirely sure what happened there. Either way, we are now waiting for all drivers to come round and then for the race to start. Yesterday started quite interestingly with pole sitter Kierbo, the reserve driver for Tier 3 in Ayub Khan's place, already crashing himself out in the formation lap in turn 2 when his something didn't really function. His pedals, I believe, shot away from under him. Therefore his brake pedal didn't work, and then he smashed himself into the wall. But of course there's no damage to be done in the formation lap, only then starting on cold tires, and that especially was an issue since the race started on the intermediates. So no such issues today, with the exception for Sanagoat, as he'll be starting on slightly colder tires. I think he's done just under half a formation lap, so they have some temperature, but it will not be enough as he had to wait for the entire field to return. We're getting ready then. The field is pretty much all moved into their grid slot, so all we need to do now is wait for the red lights to go on. Let's hope they'll function a bit better than they were yesterday. They were just doing really weird stuff. And here we pretty much are ready to rumble. There we go then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights, and we are off then. Looks like a quite equal start for both the top 2 drivers, as Alexander is getting away greatly, defending his pole position there from Sanogold, as Wisp is forced to go wide, trying to defend his position. He's already lost it though to Remco. Moving into 3rd place goes the Dutchman in his Alpine car. So a good start there for him, already trying to get onto the back of Sanogold, and we get a yellow flag at the back of the grid as we have Fraser going the wrong direction there. The other Williams not knowing where he has to go. Eruption, fortunately for him, was able to avoid the wrong way Williams, as we have Gerson trying to fight Haydar away from P16. His teammate Aro already into P14. Donny starting from last, already made a 5 places since race start, so that's great news for him. Looking good there for the other Mercedes driver. Let's quickly switch to the positions gained detail here. We already can see it there. Remco is therefore gained and Wisp lost a position. Bad news there for the championship leader. 3 of his rivals, pretty much all 3 main rivals, are now ahead of him. But of course it's only the first lap and no safety car just yet. Castle section though, looks like everybody is going through safely, question mark. Yes, there we go, according to the minimap at least. We see most drivers going through safely, as Dodi has already claimed another position, this time from Aro. His soft tires really doing their job nicely. Eruption having a bit of an issue there, both with Kane dropping back, and we already have a virtual safety car. Probably because of some debris, one place or another. I'm not entirely sure where stuff has happened, but I did see these 2 drivers at least slowing down quite substantially, losing connection to the main group ahead of them. So I think the damage might be done here. And there we have the issue. It is actually Kane without a front wing at the moment. So no full safety car, but an actual virtual safety car on the first lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here for Tier 2. So that's unfortunate there for Kane, as he's now forced into the pit lane and has to go for a new wing and an alternate strategy. Fraser as well, of course. He's probably damaged his wing as well, and now he's got another 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so his day is getting even worse. Alexander, oh no, he's got a drive-through penalty! One of the main rivals went too fast under the VSC, he got under the power too early, and that is a big, big F. Yes, Brains 2. As he now is going to drive through penalty. The race leader, the pole sitter, will be forced to go through the pit lane within maximum of 3 laps from now. That is absolutely terrible, and the prediction will probably swing into the direction of no, Alexander might not win this race after all. Of course the race is still long, and as I said plenty of times before, this is Azerbaijan, but this is bad news for the Mercedes driver, who so desperately is trying to close the gap to the championship leader. This man will be not believing his luck, as then in a few moments from now he only have 2 main rivals ahead of him. Alexander will most likely drop back to at least P18. With Kane and Fraser so far behind, he will not drop to last place, but it will be absolutely terrible news there, as Wisp is already piling on the pressure on the Dutchman ahead of him. We have a yellow flag though, we have a big yellow flag, as Gian has retired from the race. It's actually the first victim, not in the castle section, but on the main straight in fact. And that is a full safety car. So already 2 times the race has been stopped by a virtual and regular safety car. And I think some stuff ahead of the pack here has happened as well. We saw many other drivers slowing down, probably to avoid Gian, as these drivers were driving pretty closely around him. But it looks like a strategy switch here for Crampy, as he ditches the old soft tires that he had to use after qualifying. Many other drivers in the top 10 doing the same thing, but it looks like, if we switch back to the tire thing, not everybody's done so. Sanogold, Wisp and Big Turbina not choosing to switch to another set of tires. And I'm afraid Alexander is forced to still go around, as he cannot serve his drive-through under a safety car. So it's gotten even worse. He's still hanging around in P7. Got himself a fresh set of mediums. I don't think he really wanted to do that, as he tried to do a drive through, the safety car popped out. And now he's forced to wait at least a few more laps until the safety car comes in. And then, when he comes around once more, is the earliest opportunity he can do and ditch his penalty for real. This is like the worst possible luck for this man. He had an amazing start, he kept the lead. And now Sanogold is leading the race, at least for now, because I'm interested to see what he will do. He's already probably realized that the rest has come in, with the exception of Wisp and their teammate Big Turbina. He might have been in the pits. I'm not entirely sure. So we got another drive-through penalty. What is going on? Nobody's paying attention with the speeds tonight. Daz has got himself a drive-through as well. So that's a interesting thing to see here. 2 drivers now with a drive-through penalty. Daz slowing down big time now. So much in the fact that he's holding up Aro for some reason. And we see Sanogoat coming into the pit. Wisp as well. Big Turbina decides to continue on. So that means the second Red Bull driver, who's getting closer in the championship fight as well, is now leading the race effectively, for now at least. Reapy following just behind. Decided not to pit either, as his mediums are still doing a great job. And that is Gerson now moving into 4th. It's a bit of a mess going on over here, as drivers are trying to slot themselves into a position. And we nearly have a race situation here between Wisp and Gerson on the safety car procedures. But Wisp must remain behind Gerson, as he was already ahead of him when Wisp exited the pit lane. Mediums till the end. I think that's going to be a challenge for sure, because they'll have to last at least 22 laps if the safety car comes in now, which I find to be unlikely. So if they are really careful, they might be able to do it. But I am almost positive we'll see another safety car. One driver out of the race. It is one of the Alfa Romeos, and it's currently Alfa Romeo not really doing a great job in terms of the Constructors' Championship. They only have one driver remaining now, Deeksurf, hanging around in P13 on the hard tires, which is the safe option if you want to go to the end for the race for sure, as has Daz done, but he's got a drive-through penalty. He's tried, I think, to take it. No, I think he was already down in P18 for some reason. Didn't really see what happened there. Either way, he's almost last place, and he still has to do the safety, the drive-through. As of course has Alexander. It is indeed doable to make the mediums last until the end, but it is going to be hard, as suddenly Crampy moves down a lot of positions. I think he might have had a lag spike there. And now suddenly he finds himself instead of P10 and P14. So once again, Ferrari having a miserable day. Let's see if they can make the most of it and claim back some positions at least. We do know Crampy's got the pace, and I'm positive that Kanay's got the pace as well. But I think the luckiest men at the moment are those who are now driving in the top 4. So Big Turbina, Reapy, and Gerson, and Sanogoat will be the happiest of them all, as he's now got a Haas in between himself and his nearest rival, Wisp, trying to claw back some points in the championship fight. Look at the positions claimed by Hadar, Gerson, Reapy, and Big Turbina, especially Hadar and Gerson, having climbed up so many positions. Yes, I thought as much. Crampy had a screen freeze. We saw it happen on the standing board over there, as he suddenly lost 4 position. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about that, I'm afraid. Unless everybody moves well out of their way to let him back past, which might trigger several penalties, so it's not worth the risk for any driver ahead of him. Let's see if the pack picks up the safety car. Yeah, for some reason they're still not there, aren't they? The safety car is just waiting and waiting and waiting. It's probably because of all the pit stops several drivers have made, unless the safety car is glitched again. I wasn't really paying attention to that matter, as there's so much happening already. Safety car waiting in sector 3. It will definitely not come in this lap, as Fraser is still very far behind. Aro and Daz are also pretty slow and not connecting to the group. And now the safety car, I think, can go and get a move on. There he goes. Now the field can properly bunch up and start to get ready to get racing again. Will be at least one more lap, as I said, under the safety car. Sanogoat is currently in prime position to retake the lead, but he has to be aware that the tires of Reapy and Big Turbina aren't that much older. As long as he keeps his tire in the temperature window and makes sure that they aren't getting worn too much by all the weaving he has to do to keep them in that window of proper temperature. Big Turbina, especially the only driver to remain in the soft tires. He might be pondering right now, has he made the right choice? Personally, I think he should have come in like the rest, but he's probably anticipating another safety car, which isn't even a bad thought. We've seen somebody yesterday do that before, Red Bull as well, Arcio in fact, when it was still wet on the track, went onto the soft tires a bit too early, anticipating the second safety car, and he was right, and therefore he gained a lot of positions during that second moment of no racing. Going from, what was it, P17 all the way back to P4, where he more or less originally started after qualifying. So then, the field is now completely bunched up. 19 drivers remain. 2 of them are having a drive-through penalty. And the one that's going to hurt the most is Alexander's drive-through penalty. This man is not going to be happy. What we need to do now is wait for everybody to come round for the safety car to announce that he's going to come in at the end of the lap, and then Big Turbina leading the field to the start-finish line. Let's see if he can get a proper getaway from Reapy and Sanagoat. Most likely the Williams driver will be on them immediately. Gerson in between Sanagoat and Wisp, going to try everything he can to keep his position. He needs the points for himself and the team as well. But we've seen from qualifying that he's quite a bit large margin of the pace compared to the two drivers that are in front and behind him. So let's see what will happen there. Safety car in this lap then, as now Big Turbina can lead away the field on his pace. He is dictating the speed for the entire group. Up on the main straight they go. Past the DRS detection zone, which of course will not be functional for another 3 laps to come. Look at how close everybody is there. Big Turbina still waiting, getting closer and closer to the line. He wants as little tow as possible. He's just waiting for the perfect moment to drive away, trying to catch Reapy and Sanagoat and the rest off guard. And there he goes, not yet. We see somebody quickly heading into the pit lane, and actually it was Donny who's actually done a very quick run to the pit lane there. We immediately have a yellow flag for Daz going quite slow. That's a green flag now once again. The restart is gone. And Gerson already lost the position to Wisp and Alexander as well. This man especially is going to be in a very big hurry, trying to claim as many positions before he's forced to take the drive-through penalty. Gerson already lost more places than he would probably like. He's down from P4 down to P9 already. And he's about to get taken. Oh no, it's a crash! Trying to defend a big carnage in turn 3. 7 or 8 cars have been messed up due to the defending of Gerson, putting a daisy in the wall. It's absolute carnage there. So many cars were involved with this collision, and here we go again. Yes, Fuel Bar, that's the only proper way to say this. And I don't think those people are going to be happy, man. And Sanagoat somehow has fallen down to 5th now. Big Turbina still leading the race. His teammate is now right behind him. Reapy up to 3rd place. Alexander up to 4th. And Sanagoat fuming now in P5 as Alexander now gets past Reapy into 3rd place. Which is good for him. But the thing is, he will have to take the drive-through penalty, I think, in this lap, as Gerson has been given a 5-second penalty for a massive collision, which, if I'm honest, is only the fair decision to make, because he already knew it was going to be taken by a daisy at a much quicker pace. So there you have it, as now Sanagoat passes Reapy again. Alexander heading into the pit lane for his drive-through, used every bit of battery he possibly could. And Wisp getting led past by his teammate. Into 1st place he goes. He's now got his teammate as a buffer right behind him, as Sanagoat will now have to try and get back to him. He had the prime position and he did make the most of it now. And it looks like Haydar has moved ahead of his teammate as well. He's now up into 4th place from P19 up to 4th after this safety car restart. Crampy having yellow side pods, but he's far behind in last place, so that's terrible news. Once again, he just can't catch a break from the bad luck he's having through all of these races in a row right now. As there's a big slew of cars behind both AlphaTauris trying to get past one another. Remco being caught in between those cars, trying to claw back to Sano, Goat and Wisp as well. Gerson in the pit lane right now. Crampy already having retired with his damaged car. He's no longer able to keep up with the rest of the field, so that's super unfortunate. So now Ferrari is relying once again on Kene to score the points for the team. When will the team catch a break and score their much needed points to get out from the bottom of the field in the Constructors' Championship? Back though to a big row of cars, which is not this group, but this group here in fact, with Psycho being at the rear and Big Turbina being at the head. Sanogold getting ready for the move as Turbina's tires are starting to run out of anything to use in terms of grip. Sanogold already passed. I saw Psycho moving ahead of Reapy as well in the standings there. Big Turbina trying to get back at him. Will he try and mess up the race? He's having a thought about it, but it isn't going to work just yet. He could have dive bombed him there, but that might potentially ruin his own race. But he's actually trying to help his teammate out a little bit here. But he isn't able to keep up, and now Haydar is coming up behind him. Big Turbina still having DRS, so Haydar is going to have to drive really quickly if he wants to get past right there. He doesn't succeed. Meanwhile, a bit further back, Eruption is hounding Kene, trying to claim P8 from him. The man who had so much bad luck here in qualifying. Now in P9, starting 18th, already made up 9 places, but this man especially has impressed me here. He stayed out of all the carnage and is now driving around in 4th place, starting almost last. And now he's challenging Big Turbina for a potential podium place. Of course, we need to keep in mind that he still has to stop. Looking at the tires, especially here, look at that. His tires are one of the oldest on the field at the moment, along with Big Turbina there, Reapy. And that's pretty much it. 3 drivers still having to pit yet. The field is already quite spread out actually. Big Turbina's tires are pretty much dead, so he might be overtaken by plenty of cars very soon. It won't be long until he'll be able to, he'll be forced to come in pretty much. Let's see what he does. Is he going to stay out? Is he going into the pit? He is actually staying out. He's letting Reapy past. Remco is now getting side by side with him as well. Wow, look at that! Remco taking 2 cars in one go! Look at the super amazing move there by the Dutchman. 2 places in one go, both Big Turbina and Reapy taken, and Psycho also definitely patent fitting from that move there by Remco, as he also takes a position there from Haydar, as we have a yellow flag. Remco slowing down there for some reason, letting past Psycho, maybe because of something, and there we have a Haas sideways, and it's once again Gerson, actually. Yes, it is. There he is, has reset his car because he was sideways, didn't really have much of a choice. But from P4 all the way down to being lapped, and for some reason he decided to slow down and nearly get our Mercedes to plow in the back of his Haas there. What on earth is going on tonight? Back to the front of the field. Psycho 4 seconds away from the top 2. Sanogo not able to match the pace at the moment of his main rival Wisp, who's slowly edging away in his Red Bull. And Psycho now is gonna have to defend from Remco here, as the Alpine let him past before turn 3. I'm not entirely sure why that happened. Psycho under yellow. That might have been the case then, I guess. Either way, it's now up to Remco to claim back the position on the podium. Haydar was in P3 for a moment there, and then suddenly had 2 cars all around him. Remco taking 2 cars in one go, and I think Big Turbina's got no option than to pit, and he does. In comes the final man on the soft tires, and now he can take the mediums and go all the way to the end. This man then is not hoping for another safety car, otherwise he'll be screwed. quite big time. Back to the man, Alexander Johansson here has already served his drive-through up into P8 already, now chasing Kane. As Gerson retires from the session, he's got no point of continuing to race there. He's already a lap down on pretty much everyone in the field except for a few. So he's out, and I'm afraid it's going to be another bad day for Haas. As Aro is very far behind any points as well, and P17 currently last. So Psycho still holding on from Remco over here. But I don't think it's going to take much longer for Remco here to claim the position back. Psycho is struggling a bit to keep up the pace. Sanagot actually is starting to get closer to Wisp over here. And the battle for the lead might be on very, very soon. Psycho is going defensive at the end of the second sector there. Trying to break the slipstream, and now we're gonna have a real go as Eruption once again has spun his car and is also going in the opposite direction like Fraser a few laps back. But that's no good news there for the other McLaren driver. Meanwhile, Psycho doing everything he can to defend his position from Remco here, but I'm afraid Remco's got more pace than Psycho does. But Psycho is famous for some dive bombs, but this time he decides to stay behind for the time being. Now he's going to have to attack and defend at the same time. Let's see how he will hold up to that. He's now able to actually keep up the pace there as he goes a bit of an oversteering moment already. Remco defending there, trying to take defensive action there, trying to keep his position on the podium. Psycho forced to stay behind for the time being, and Haydar, we cannot count him out just yet, even though he still has to pit. He's pretty much on the pace of the two cars in front of him. Another yellow flag. It's once again Eruption spinning out. It's absolutely the worst day for this man. He spun out on so many occasions. Polypon getting past, moving back into 12th. This man is not having a great day either. And I'm afraid there's not much more we can do there for the McLaren driver other than to somewhat cheer him on. That's going quite slow as well. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. As he's, I don't know what's going on. He's now letting past Deke Serve. He's slowed down to a crawl. Ah, there we go. He's got no front wing. So that completely explains what on earth is happening with him there. Reap in the meanwhile, as Alexander has already passed Kane, is now getting hounded by the Swede there in the Mercedes. And Alexander is going to try and take back P6. He's having a little look. He's letting him know that he's there and ready to take the position from him. As Reapy has older tires and they are starting to show their wear. How many safety cars have we had so far? Just one, and a virtual safety car. But not as many as Tier 3 actually. Alexander there taking the position. Daz retiring in the castle section. We might actually see the second safety car coming if we're not careful. As Aro is going to try and get past. Thankfully he managed to do it safely there. And that's the fourth retirement here in Tier 2. Alexander safely now past Reapy, and now the chase is on to claim back P5 after his disastrous drive-through penalty. In the meanwhile, Remco still successfully defending against both Psycho and Haydar, still in P3 there at the moment as Eruption comes into the pit lane, probably for a fresh wing and some fresh tires. Once again, it's going to be an expensive night for the teams with all the wings that are having to be replaced, but frankly it's not as many wings as they had to replace in Tier 3. They're just not trying hard enough, but it's still, we're only at the halfway point of the race, so still plenty of opportunities for safety cars if you so desire. We saw one yesterday in lap 22 out of 26, so never count the safety car out until we are at lap 23 or 24. Because I don't think it will be happening anymore by that point. So then, another attempt here for Psycho to reclaim P3. But he has to be careful though, because the tires, I think he wants to make them last until the end, and so does Remco. Haydar still has to come in, and he's now slowly starting to lose ground to the Alpine and the McLaren. Psycho's gonna have another go. He's getting closer and closer. He doesn't have a lot of battery to work with, but he's definitely gonna have a go. No, he's slowing down. He's actually staying behind him, saving some tires, which allows Haydar to catch up again. And look at that! Now he's pretty much onto the rear of the McLaren here. He's got a better exit in turn 1 as well, despite his older tires. So Psycho slowing down. Now he's in a bit of trouble, as Haydar is back in the chase. He was losing ground on the main straight, but now he's all back in the fight. Psycho, therefore, is just biding his time, probably saving his battery, but looks like Remco is doing a slightly better job of that at the moment. Meanwhile, in the front, we have Sanagoat trying hard to get into the DRS range. Very, very hard indeed. Both of them are having one of the youngest tires on the field at the moment of those who didn't pit twice already. Whoa, almost ramming into the wall there. It's very, very tight, but it did save him a little bit of time. He's still, though, 1.2 seconds behind the Red Bull driver and the driver championship leader at the moment. His battery's pretty much run dry, trying to catch up to Wisp, and Wisp still got half his battery left, so that's going to be an issue for sure. But Sanagoat's probably like, all I have to do is getting to DRS range, but he got a bad exit getting onto the main straight here, so that means no DRS just yet for the Williams driver, and he's already losing ground, using the last bits of battery, and it's now run dry, and Wisp is just having an easy time trying to stay ahead. Or at least I think he is having an easy time. Aro is about to be lapped in the pit lane. Remco once again trying to defend, and Psycho is now really having a go. At long last, he is bided enough time there and reclaims P3 from the Dutchman into turn 1. Nice and easy is what it looked like. As we get a bit of a lag spike here, fortunately it was on our end, not on the driver's end there, as Kane has claimed 7th place from Reapy now. The AlphaTauri driver fallen down to P8 already with his tires that are getting older and older and older. Alexander, in the meanwhile, is now quickly starting to catch Reapy and Remco and Psycho, trying to salvage some points. And he's definitely not giving up the chase just yet. Although his tires, he still needs to make sure his ones will last to the end as well. So hopefully he can do that. Ooh, that looks pretty dangerous over there, heading into the castle section for the top 2. Sanagoat losing a lot of time in the castle section there. Look at that, 4/10 in about 3 corners were lost. His battery is still doing pretty poorly, and I'm afraid he is gonna have a lot of trouble catching up to the race leader. Back to the second group of drivers who are fighting for a position here. It's still Psycho versus Remco and Haydar. Now the McLaren is leading onto the main straight. We have a yellow flag. It is Aro, in fact. Oh, he's lost another bit of front wing. It couldn't get any worse for him there. He's now moving out of harm's way for the race leader and the man in second place as he once again moves into the pit lane. And oh no, he's crashed inside the pit lane. For some reason, he didn't think that his car should go slower when he's got no front wing, and he's out of the race. No yellow flags though, as he wasn't on the track. But it's going to be dangerous heading into the pit lane. I hope people that still have to pit will realize that. Nobody, fortunately, is heading into the pit lane. In the meanwhile, Donny is actually claiming P9 from Fraser here. From P20 now into 9th, just like Haydar, having a fantastic race. And he might be able to claim even more positions. Now Reapy is ahead of him. He still has to pit. And Donny, having much fresher tires, is going to have a real go at him here. There he goes. He's almost out of battery though, so he only can have a little look to see how the side pods of the AlphaTauri look, and they look fabulous. Back to the people fighting for P3. Haydar is still with them, and I think he's going to wait until he can switch to the soft tires, which is only 3 more laps-ish. 2 or 3 more laps. And then he can switch to those tires. And look at that, there is Alexander already, having made up 3 seconds in about 1 or 2 laps. He's back in the fight for the podium places. We have a yellow flag, and the castle section has claimed another driver. It is Donny out of the race. He's had such a nice recovery dive, and it's a safety car. Big Turbina sees the carnage ahead. Let's hope everybody else will see it as well in the castle section. It is very, very dangerous now. Polypunk, let's see if he can see the carnage coming. Fortunately for him, the car is already gone and moved out of the way, but that's the second safety car. There we go. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. The top two, of course, coming in for a fresh set of softs. And I think especially this man cannot believe his luck. His one and only pit stop will come under safety car conditions. And so his P5 might be closer than ever. He is still in the fight for the podium and maybe even the race win if he has the pace. But he started P19 and there he is, avoided all the carnage, made the right strategic decisions, and he's still hanging around in 5th place. Look at that! Definitely the driver of the day for me if he keeps this up. I might have just jinxed it, but you know, let's see. Alexander, frankly, having switched to a set of medium tires. Oh, you for sure just did jinx that. Yeah. Well, I didn't jinx the weather, so who knows, maybe my jinx spell is offline tonight. Let's hope so for the driver's sake. Anyway, we are now waiting for the field to bunch up with 9 laps remaining after this one. The safety car, I think, will likely come in at the end of the next lap. This lap, the field is still too much spread out. And we're going to have a massive final sprint of about 9 or 8 laps after the safety cars come in. And especially, the odd one out is Alexander here. He's the only driver to have switched to the mediums. Now, that might have been a game error, of course. We've seen that happen before. Or maybe it is a choice he actually made himself, and now he might realize the error, as every driver around him is going to have faster tires. But this is Alexander, and we know he's very quick. So who knows what he can pull off. 14 drivers remain, 6 DNFs. We're still 3 shy from the amount of DNFs that Tier 3 had yesterday. Will we match the record of yesterday? Will we match the actual record of 11 DNFs in Monaco in this same tier here? We will know soon enough. When the safety car comes in, hell will break loose as everybody's going to scramble for a position, trying to get as close to victory as possible. Wisp will lead away that field of potential carnage. Can he hold the lead? He started 3rd. He's now leading the race. He might potentially extend his championship lead once more. He's already 34 points clear of the man right behind him, Sanogoat. And of course he also knows what's at stake. Remco is also pretty much still in contention. In fact, while the safety car is still out, let's quickly switch to the driver standings so you'll have a little idea. Actually, it's Remco in P2 at the moment with 34 points behind. Sanogoat with 39 points behind Wisp at the moment. Victor Binak relatively close as well. And then it is Polypunk, but as far as I'm aware, Polypunk doesn't really play a major role tonight, as he's only 11th, Victor Bina only 10th at the moment, so neither of those drivers having much of a chance at big points, unless, as I said, hell might break loose. You never really know. It is Azerbaijan, I keep saying it, but it's true every single time. So I'm positive the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. I'll have a quick sip of water because I think I'll have a lot of talking to do. Alright, I'm ready. I hope you are as well. For the final 8 laps of the race. Whoa, Sanogoat slowing down quite a bit there, creating a bit of a gap to Wisp for some reason. Remco nearly running into the back of him. Could have ended pretty badly there. Fortunately for either driver, it didn't. Penalties on this track are super rare. Track limit penalties at least. And Tier 2 is also living up to that standard of having very few track limit penalties on Azerbaijan. Wisp leading away the field as the safety car is moving himself into the pit lane in a few moments. We're just waiting for the other Red Bull driver to go away. So far, both safety car endings have been led by a Red Bull driver, interestingly. Let's see what will happen. Wisp is still waiting as they edge ever closer to the line. The closer you get to the line, the less slipstream the men behind you might have. Did I see some debris fly over there? I hope I was seeing that wrongly. Oh, dearie me, it's already going side by side. Psycho, what's going on here? Psycho is going for it outside the start-finish line. What on earth is the man doing? That's definitely not allowed. Psycho has moved away before the green flag. That's very, very interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if that will result in a disqualification for the McLaren driver there. Because that's definitely not on. That shouldn't happen. That shouldn't have happened. Very, very weird. Anyway, back to the driving at hand. Wisp is still ahead of Sanogoat. Remco is still behind Sanogoat. And Psycho just decided to go away. I'm at a loss for words. Why on earth was he thinking that was a good idea? Was there a glitch for him that allowed him to go on? Definitely the game is not repercussing him for that, but he does know that is not allowed. If he does get back the position, maybe the FIA will be lenient, but I'm almost positive that this is not going to work out for the McLaren driver. Will he give back the position? Let's find out. He's not defending. But he is still staying ahead of the Red Bull driver. He will get back. He will have to go back to P3 or 4 as Wisp is angrily driving behind him, telling him to hurry up and get out of the flippin' way. That's probably what he's thinking right now. As he sets a second purple sector, Sanogoat is able to keep up. Psycho's already been overtaken, pretty much given up the position. I think he's going to give up another position here. He has to, because he didn't start in P2 after the safety car restart. He's moving away, there he goes, letting past Sanogoat as well. I think he has to let past Remco too, and there he goes, back into the position where he belongs. So that's a good move there from Psycho, well done. And immediately goes back into the offense in the inside, trying to reclaim the podium place from Remco. But so far, no good just yet. Another inside line for him there. Remco defending frantically from the McLaren driver as the other McLaren has now retired in the pit lane. Side by side, both of the drivers go. They've been clashing all race long. Who will come out best here? And it is actually Psycho reclaiming the podium position once again. Another yellow flag right behind them. Remco actually getting back at him. A surprising move there. And now Psycho once again over the inside line. How long will this go? Well, actually. And to my surprise, it is still going quite well. Now Psycho is getting the worst exit once more. Remco might have a chance to come back. He's having a look, but he's not having a go. Alexander struggling to get the medium tires to work. He still hasn't made up a position. And everybody is still within 1 second of one another. With the exception of Psycho after the hard defending, Sanogoat is still somewhat sticking with the race leader. And now Psycho is going to have to drive hard to get away from him. Remco is salty, well he might be, because he barely gave back the position to the Alpine driver there. So I'm not entirely sure what is going on, but let's just move on and see what happens in the remaining 6 laps of this race. Because there's still plenty of things at stake here for several drivers. Sanogoat trying to stay with the race leader. Both of them having pretty much the same level of battery. So Sanogoat this time much better on the pace of Wisps there right now. Remco still behind Psycho. Both of them are pretty much running out of battery. Alexander now moving past Haydar into P5 on his medium tires. Purple final sector for the Mercedes driver as well, as DRS is now actually enabled, which will now allow Sanogoat to attack for the first time, or at least stay close to him. He's getting and edging ever closer. He's not going to make a move. I'm quite positive here. There's still plenty of laps to go, so you have to choose the perfect moment to do it. Remco very, very closely and very nearly taking back third place there from Psycho. Moving almost side by side, trying to go around the outside. No success for him so far yet, though. And he's going to have to remain a bit more patient to have another go. Alexander is now already behind him as well, trying to claw back all the positions he can after his disastrous drive-through penalty. Now in P5 as Haydar desperately tries to cling with them, having made up 13 places since the race start. Hanging around in P6, Kane trying to score some points for Ferrari, which they desperately need. They might be able to overtake Haas in the constructor standings if they do score more than 4 points tonight. Reapy also keeping up with the group here. Everybody's pretty much keeping up with Psycho here, because the top 2 is gone away from one another, and no more DRS there for Sano Goat, as he got a terrible exit out of the final proper corner. Psycho now is going to have to defend from Remco once again, as Alexander is also pretty much on the rear of the Alpine driver. What will happen here? The problem for him now is, with a very low battery, will he be able to properly attack? Both of them having DRS. Alexander having the run side by side. Remco having the inside. Now, what will happen? Who will break latest? It is touching nearly into the wall. There goes Alexander Johansson. It was a tricky move there, and immediately Haydar is striking back at the Mercedes driver, as the grip isn't really working for Alexander just yet, and he's now going to have to defend instead of attacking. And meanwhile, Remco has lost connection to Psycho, who's now safely, for the time being at least, in 3rd place, as Deekserve passes Fraser for P10, and Fraser immediately loses all the positions and is now in last place. 7 retirements now on the board here in Tier 2, with 4.5 laps of racing remaining. Remco already back in the DRS zone pretty much of Psycho there, using up some more battery. Alexander also low on battery. Everybody is low on battery pretty much. Wisp is still having a decent amount. Sano Goat is back within DRS range, but he has to get better exits out of the final 2 real corners here. This one and then the other one as well. Then you look at this. This is where Wisp is gaining all the time he needs to stay safe from any attack of Sano Goat. But this time the Williams driver is still within DRS range, so he might potentially have a little go here, at least get closer as his teammate heads into the runoff area at the back of the pack. DRS now for Sano Goat with a very low battery. In the background we can see Psycho getting Remco trying to shake him off, as Alexander is now approaching him relatively quickly, but without any battery. It's going to be hard to attack, but both of them are having low battery, and Alexander is going avalanche into turn 1. Will he hit the wall? It's going very, very neatly, almost hitting the wall there, and now Remco will have the better exit out of turn 1, and they touch, and Remco spins. Well, nearly actually, somehow managed to hold the car onto the track there. No spinning just yet, but Alexander, trying to defend his position, almost took out Remco there. Not entirely sure whose fault it was. Not sure if Remco should have stuck his nose inside there. Not entirely sure if Alexander tried to squeeze him out, but it was a bit optimistic from Remco, that's for sure. Might be because he's still pretty angry at what happened between himself and Psycho after the safety car restart, where Psycho just decided to go for it before the flags even went green. And it still baffles me that happened. He's in 3rd place. We might get an interview with him after the race finish, so we can ask his point of view. Maybe there's a glitch, you never really know with this game. Now Alexander is going to try and take the podium from Psycho with only 3 laps remaining. But the FIA might have a little look at the incident between himself and Remco. It's hard for me to judge fairly on whose fault it really was. Okay, I think you can say something for both parties here. So it might have as well as been a racing incident. But you never know. Never really know. I'm not the FIA and not the one to judge here. I think Sano Goat is going to wait for the last possible opportunity to claim the lead of the race. He still has a chance with 3 laps to go. Psycho now under immense pressure from Alexander. He's having a little look, but he's not having a go, as Deekserve claims another position, now up into P8. Remco back into 6th place, trying to stay on the track there, as Canet has been moved down back to P7. Deekserve also on the medium tires, by the way, interestingly. Still having a decent amount of battery left. Alexander, in the meanwhile, has claimed P3 from Psycho, as Psycho nearly pushes the Swede into turn 3. It looks like the soft tires are starting to fall off a little bit, so maybe the choice of medium tires might have not been that bad of an idea. Deekserve actually didn't pit under the 2nd safety car, so his tires are slightly older there, as you can see. So very, very interesting tactic there for the Alfa Romeo driver, and he's slowly starting to get into the zone where his tires are better than all of the others with the exception of Alexander. Alexander now having a prime position, but he still needs to make up 4 seconds if he wants to have any shot at winning the race. And in 2 and a bit laps, that's going to be really hard. He needs to be 2 seconds a lap quicker than the front 2 drivers in order to manage to do that. And I cannot see him doing that at all, but he has limited the damage from his drive-through penalty, at least. Soundergoat still too far away on the main straight. He will have DRS, but it's still not close enough. He does get close in sectors 1 and 2, but when it comes to it, he cannot be close enough yet. We have a yellow flag. His teammate once again spinning out, this time in the castle section. Fraser is unraveling. Soundergoat, as you can see, in sector 1, once again, really, really close. Half a second. It's not going to be enough to place any attack. He's going to save his ERS as much as he can. Wisp still having more battery than he does, so still plenty of defending opportunity. We have another yellow flag. It's actually Remco. He spun out again in turn 2. Might have had a bit of contact, might not have a bit of contact, but once again, it's all coming down for the Dutchman. He was all the way up in P3, all the way heading for a possible podium position, but it's now down outside of the points and very little chance of getting back into it unless somebody ahead of him makes a big mistake, because he's now 5 seconds away from his teammate in P10. Polypunk then claiming the one and only point for now for the Alpine team. Oh dear, Soundergoat's made a big mess up in the castle section. He suddenly lost a lot of time. Does he have damage? That's the big question. Alexander is now only 2.2 seconds away from him. Soundergoat is potentially in trouble here. He's scraping the wall a little bit. Remco now spun out in the castle section. I don't think he really cares anymore. Yeah, I think Soundergoat's in trouble. I think he has damage. Soundergoat's having damage. He's losing a lot of time to both Wisp and Alexander. Alexander's battery is pretty much flat. But I think he'll soon realize that Soundergoat is in trouble when going through the corners. On the straight he'll be fine. Potentially even faster, because he's a bit of downforce. Fraser is still messing around on the track, trying to finish the race as best as he can. 50 seconds now behind the Daisy. Polypunk in the meanwhile claiming P9 from Reapy, and it almost looked like Reapy had a bit of a touch there with the Alpine driver, but that was probably due to the weird camera angle that we had. Either way, last lap, and the final chance for Alexander to get back into second place. He's weaving behind the Williams driver. Wisp will definitely win this race unless he messes up in the castle section. Remco retiring from the session in the pit lane. Alexander now safely in second place, and Soundergoat doing the damage limitation this time around. Psycho might actually try and get back on the podium here if he gets a move on. Hadar also getting very close to the podium place as well, if the FIA is going to have any say about Psycho's interesting safety car move. 3.4 seconds for Alexander until he reaches the race leader. That will not happen anymore. Extremely unlikely right there. Polypunk now all the way on the back of Big Turbina, the other Red Bull driver there, now under threat of losing P9 to Polypunk. But there's not much else we can say about Wisp. He's had a great race, stayed out of all the troubles, had some proper strategies, and he will extend his lead to even more points as he now officially wins the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Fraser slowing down there to get the flag as well. Alexander coming home second despite his drive-through penalty. Great drive from him there. Soundergoat claiming the final podium place. Psycho just missing out. Deeksurf taking P5 actually there. So a great drive from him as well. Hadar moving down to P6. Big Turbina taking P7. Kane in P8. Polypunk in 9th. Reapy taking the final point. And all we need to do now is wait for a Daisy to claim the last race position. So 8 DNFs. He's heading in the pit lane for some reason. Interesting. There you go. Cross the line. And that's over then. Wisp wins once again. Well, actually, I say once again, but it's been a while since he's won, actually. He hasn't won since Imola, which was 4 weeks ago. And despite all of that, he still has a healthy lead in the Drivers' Championship. There he is then, once again, winning a race. His third win of the season. Nobody else in this tier has won as many races as he has. But he comes out victorious. Alexander next to him on the podium in second place. Sanagot in third. And these, I think, are the championship protagonists. There we go. The official race results are in. Wisp winning, Alexander in second, Sanagot in third, Psycho P4 just missing out on that podium. Probably still will have a little investigation from the FIA. Deekserv in fifth. Great race from him. Very good race from Haydar as well. From 19th to 6th. 13 places improvement there. Big Turbina finishing in 7th. Kane having a good race, scoring some points for Ferrari. Much needed points. Polypunk in 9th. Reapy in 10th. And then you have the rest of the field right over here. And now, of course, the big question, who wants to have an interview? I'm very curious to see what the drivers think, especially Alexander with his drive through. I'm curious to know what happened there. And he's actually, interesting, the first to join the waiting room in the Discord channel. So let's switch to the man who had to do a big comeback, coming home second. I think it's safe to say, Alexander, first of all, congratulations, of course, on claiming P2. But I think it's safe to say this was damage limitation, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. You know, I'm pretty disappointed with that drive-through penalty, but at the same time, to manage P2, having a drive-through penalty, for me is really good, and it shows that I still have a lot of pace left.
Yeah, definitely. You actually claimed pole position pretty safely there from Sanagot. You actually led away pretty well, and then that drive-through came. How exactly did that happen?
I mean, I was just holding my the delta was 5/10 up, so I was like, okay, no problems, and then it was going in, and when I drove past the 100 marker board, the delta just went to -2/10, so I was like, oh shit, and I got the drive-through. And it was really unfortunate as well, as the same lap I was going to go in for it, to change it, we got a safety car. Like exactly when I was about to go in, I got so mad.
Yeah, that must have been the worst luck for you, but you didn't really lose that many positions once you did take the drive-through, and then of course another safety car and a lot of carnage. So many things happened on track, and you still managed to get in second place, so yes, as you said, you must be really happy with that one.
Yeah, I'm really happy. You know, I went for the medium strategy because I knew the soft tires, as we saw in the end, I was catching everybody at a rapid pace. So I knew the softs weren't gonna last. Like they die off at 5 laps, and with my new fresh mediums, I knew I was gonna catch a lot of people at the end. So I was just hoping for the best, and yeah, I turned up P2.
Yeah, so a great job for you there. I've already called you, along with Sanagot and Wisp, the championship protagonists. You're still pretty far away from the lead. But as I said, damage limitation from you there. And next week, Canada. How's your pace on that track?
I don't know. I always say I'm bad at every track, almost. But you know, I find the pace. I just practiced some days before, and then I can do a good work. But I think Wisp, he shouldn't relax too much. You know, I'm on his tail. I'm a little bit surprised that he's slower than I thought. So we'll see in the next race.
All right, let's heat this up. I'm very curious to see what you and the other guys can do next week in Canada. So enjoy your hard-fought P2, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers. Onwards to our actual race winner then, Wisp. You stayed out all of the carnage, but first let's go back to qualifying. You qualified third. I remember from last week, one of you guys said you were really, really quick at this track. I'm not sure if it was you or not, but how did you feel about your qualifying position, first and foremost?
Yeah, it was interesting. Let's just call it a strategic mistake.
Okay.
I might have done quite a few mistakes on the lap, but it was still okay, so I just kept going. But,
Okay.
Yeah, I just not what I wanted, but it worked out in the end. So.
Yeah, it definitely worked out. There are a lot of things happened on the track. Take us through your race. How was it for you, starting third and then winning the race?
I had some really good battles with Marco, like kind of brewing up. We were kind of getting close to each other, and we were like talking, and I think it was going to be a good battle. And then safety cars came out, and other people started like interfering in some smaller incidents and stuff like that. So we kind of never got to fully battle. So it was kind of half boring, but it was still fun, I guess.
Yeah, I was quite happy to see you two guys fight out there on track. At some point, Sanogoat was ahead of you. You had a Haas in between yourself and him. Were you worried at that point? Because the Haas had a bit slower pace than you, that something was going to happen there.
I felt pretty safe. I always had a plan to kind of like dive him into turn one because of the better tires and me just being able to brake later and being faster pace. So I kind of felt safe in the position I was in.
Speaking of feeling safe, how safe do you feel at the moment in the driver's standings? Because you've extended your lead pretty much to more than 40 points by now.
Damn. Feels pretty good, I guess. Still a little worried, but yeah. I've got some really good races coming up, so I guess I'm feeling pretty confident.
Yeah, we're not halfway through the season yet, so still plenty of opportunity. Speaking of which, next week, Canada. How will you fare there?
Gonna have to do a lot of practice. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at like any part of the track, so I'm gonna have to practice a lot and actually just get used to it now that I'm in a championship fight. So, yeah.
All right, good luck with all the practice. Enjoy your victory of tonight, and I'll see you next week then.
Yeah, see you.
Last and definitely not least, we have our good friend Sanogoat here. You claimed third place, but am I fair to say that you probably expected a bit more from this race?
Yes, I did. It's really disappointing after, well, 99% of the race being a second chasing Wisp and then just getting wing damage on the penultimate lap. Just once, bit too early on the throttle, and that's orange wing damage.
Yeah, I think the castle claimed your front wing, didn't it?
Well, no, actually, it was corner before castle on traction. I just, yeah.
That was
Bit too
really
early.
unfortunate, because you were definitely in a tough fight there for the win of the race, most of the race there actually. There was quite a lot of carnage and chaos. Were you hampered in any way by all the chaos happening?
Well, not... actually. For the most of the race, not really, but on the safety car restart, I was behind P, and I was net P1 at that point. And I think there was a lag spike between me and him, and that's what allowed Wisp to overtake me and get out of my DRS. And yeah, I just had to push so hard to get back into his DRS. And once I actually did, he got a DRS from a lapped car, and that was just really disappointing.
Yeah, sometimes the circumstances work in somebody else's favor, and sometimes they work in your favor. Either way, you're still pretty much in the championship fight, as there's still a lot of races to go. Next week we'll have Canada. Risp already said his that is definitely not his fastest track, so how do you feel about that one?
Well, Canada is one track that I haven't raced. I think the only track that I haven't raced at all in this game, as I've been just avoiding it every league. Yeah, I hate Canada. I really hate it. But, well, I actually gonna see how I feel after I do some TT laps there. But probably not gonna be as fast as I was today.
Alright, I'm very curious to see what will happen next week then. Good luck with the preparations, and we'll see you then.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Right, my good friends on the stream, thank you so much once again for watching. It's been a very, very exciting, tough and chaotic race once more in Azerbaijan, and I'm quite sure you'll now be very stoked for the upcoming races. In a few hours from now, we'll have Tier 2 in the Americas coming up on the same track. Then tomorrow, 10 PM sharp, we'll have Tier 1 of Europe going at the same track as well, and then a few hours after that one we have the Americas Tier 1, closing off the Azerbaijan week here. So next week it will be Canada then. I hope by then I'll have found a permanent solution for the quality issues the stream apparently is having. I'm glad to see it's already improved a little bit, so I'll do everything in my power to make it go even better. Either way, thank you so much for joining. Glad you enjoyed the stream. I very much enjoyed doing the commentary once more for this tier. I hope you have a great morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you are, and I'll see you next week, 10 PM sharp for Tier 3 Canada. Thank you and goodbye.